So last year, I set my New Year's resolution to be to read every single day. I ended up reading 55 books last year, 16 printed and the rest audiobooks. I'd originally intended to do a top 5 kind of vlog, but it was just too hard to choose only 5 books. There were so many great ones to choose from. Strangely, however, choosing just one was easy. There was no question about it. Ever since I read this book in May, it has kept coming up on my mind. It's QBQ, The Question Behind the Question by John G. Miller. So as I started listening to this book, I quickly discovered that it was not quite what I expected. I thought that QBQs were going to be some kind of motivational interviewing technique like the 5 Whys, not questions for me to ask myself. And after a few minutes, I even thought about turning the book off because I thought, did I really want to listen to someone telling me how I'm responsible for all my life problems for an hour? But then I realized it's so short and it could count to my total for the year, so I kept listening, and I'm glad I did. I got really into it, and I couldn't turn it off. I ended up listening to the whole book in just one go, and while it may not have been the book I'd wanted, it was definitely the book I needed to hear. So QBQs are a way of reframing your complaints into questions that begin with a how or a what, contain an I, and are action orientated. The purpose of this reframing is to banish victim thinking and blame, to remind yourself that only you can change you, and to take action. This is to create a sense of personal accountability that, rather than causing depression as I had feared, seems to have cured mine. I've suffered from bouts of depression ever since I got sick as an early teen. However, since reading this book, I've had the longest stretch without having a hint of melancholy since I was a child. The reason is that every time a why me type question surfaces, I use the QBQ guidelines to change it into a what can I do to make this better type question. So now instead of feeling trapped by circumstances, I can see that these afflictions are not burdens on me, but problems that I need to solve. And I know that I can't rely on someone else to make those changes needed, only I can make those changes. So instead of feeling like a victim, I feel now that I will most assuredly be the victor over these problems. And that trapped feeling, which always spiraled into depression, has been banished. So not only do I love the central message of this book, but I love the way it was written as well. I don't think it would have been as effective otherwise. First off, John uses storytelling to illustrate the best ways to apply the QBQs, which makes it a lot more memorable and engaging. I also don't think many other authors would have been as audacious as to write an entire book around a single 3-point framework. Many other authors try to include too many ideas in their books, which just serves to dilute and make ineffective their central message. But with this greater focus and clarity, you're left thinking about the QBQs long after you close the book, which magnifies its impact on your life immensely. As you can see, it's also quite a short book, which means you can read it in 1 or 2 goes, and it also makes it great for frequent rereading whenever you need a refresher because you start thinking incorrect questions again. As I said before, there was no real question about which book got the top spot for me last year. I read a lot of great books. I even reread The Book of 5 Rings, which had had a similar impact on me as a teenager, but for 2018 there was no question which book it was, and so it's with great pleasure that I present to John G. Miller my virtual Book of the Year award for QBQ, The Question Behind the Question. If you ever feel as though you don't have control of your life, I think this is the book you have to read. And if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.